Jaden, I think we should talk about voice in AI. You were telling me about this thing called Truecaller, which is just really cool about just very applicable to all of us, like how it can hang up on scammers, which is the best use case I've ever heard for AI. But it kind of got me thinking just more about voice. 2 seconds just to kind of set you up, Jaden, just to because we didn't really prep too much on this one, but I want to kind of ask you about like what's happening with Truecaller, but also Jaden, you are like the master of using AI for voice. You've spent tons and tons of money on it. Like 11 Labs, you are one of the 11 Labs like biggest customers, I feel like. So I'd love to kind of get your take on that because my feeling is on voice, I think we thought that voice would be the big unlock for a lot of people. And then all of a sudden everybody would start using it because it would feel like the movie Her. And it actually hasn't really been like that. I think it's very useful, but not in the way that has really driven AI adoption, more that's driven AI use cases. Listen, this is not going to apply to everyone, so feel free to tune out. But Jaden and I actually started another podcast. We have another one together called AI and Faith. And we did it because just faith is kind of central to both of our lives. I know we don't really talk about it on this show. And again, maybe that's not has no interest to you whatsoever, but to us, we just kind of like really thought about AI and the big issues and things like that. If that is of interest, you can check it out. There's going to be a link in the description. Jaden, talk to me about voice. We can go into the Truecaller thing, but can you also share with the people how you're spending so much money on 11 Labs?
Okay, well, actually, what I do have to say is, you guys have all heard me say I was on the $1,300 a month tier of 11 Labs. I've spent a lot of money doing stuff. A lot of it is like voice cloning myself for different projects, podcast projects I'm working on, different customer support things. There's all sorts of cool stuff you can do there. But I do have to give a big shout out to 11 Labs. I actually just got a $4,000 startup grant from them for AI Box.
No
And
way.
and actually one of my other startups ideas as well. So they gave me two of them. So I'm at $8,000 in 11 Labs tokens. So big shout out to
Congratulations,
yeah,
Jaden. We
big
need
shout
like
out to 11
sound
Labs.
effects or something here.
Yeah, but it's not nothing about it is exclusive. So by the way, if anyone listening to the show is interested, this isn't sponsored, whatever. There's just an open way to do it. But if anyone is interested in trying out 11 Labs and is interested, you have a startup and you want to do that, send me a DM on LinkedIn and I'm happy to tell you how I got it. If that's something interesting to you. But it's like, yeah, for voice cloning, a lot of AI audio stuff. It's cool. Okay. So the things that I think are important to know now is it's super, super easy to clone anybody's voice with up to 3 seconds of audio from them. So no one is exempt. Literally, if I'm a spam caller and I call you and I'm like, hey, I'm with your refrigeration or I don't know, something that you would actually respond to for like more than 3 seconds. Hey, I like we need your help to resolve an issue at like your kid's school. When's your next availability? I don't know, whatever, right? Some sort of thing, and you're like confused. You talk to them for a few seconds, and you're like, "Wait, you're a scammer." And you hang up. Let's say you're the most savvy person. They'll take that 3 seconds, and they can now clone your voice and call anyone they want with this voice. The technology that you use to do that specifically, because 11 Labs is very responsible. They do voice cloning. I'm not worried about them. It's actually really cool. I've done a bunch of voice clones of myself on 11 Labs, and the way that works is you give them audio, and it works best if you give them like 2 hours of like really good studio audio. And of course, from the podcast, I just throw that in there. So it's easy for me to clone my voice and train a thing. It takes a couple hours. But China has come out with a much more efficient model, which is called Qwen 3 TTS. I mean, Qwen is coming out of like Alibaba. So this is a massive, or at least it's on their platform. This is a massive company, and it's an incredible product. I've tried this out, and it can clone your voice in 3 seconds. There's a ton of different places that have this as an API, meaning you can go use Qwen 3 TTS. There's not really any sort of security other than usually the API platforms will make you check a box saying like, I have authorization to use this voice. So like 11 Labs is pretty hardcore because when you go clone your voice on 11 Labs, it's like, great, we're ready to make your voice clone. Now record yourself in your microphone saying this random script, and they'll give you a random script every time that pops up, and you have to record it in like 5 seconds. So it's actually pretty good way to make it so that people aren't faking it. And if you don't, like, if it's not you, you're not going to be able to get it done. So 11 Labs is doing it very responsibly and great. But there's a lot of these open source models out of China. There is no regulation. There is nothing you can ever do. And I think it's an important lesson for us all to learn. We all talk about like AI safety, AI responsibility, AI regulation, and we can talk till we're blue in the face about all of these topics. But at the end of the day, there is a lot of countries, and China being the biggest one, that has incredible technology, and none of these things are on their radar. And so all of this stuff is going to be open source put out there. And so, regardless of how you want to talk about regulation, like there's going to be an open source version that can do anything. So, it's important to learn how to protect yourself from this. I'm curious for you, Connor. Your voice is on the internet. Anyone could clone it and make a voice clone of you. Are you ever concerned, or have you ever had conversations with your family about someone calls them and says it's you and in an emergency and you need money for something? Like, what do you do? Like, do you have like a safe a code word or something?
It's it's funny that you say that, like, because I remember sort of like there's some like really horrible, it's most of it is like urban myth kind of stuff, but like both voice cloning stuff. It's funny because uh, y- people call so rarely now in this day and age, right? So I have
Sure.
I have Finn and Lucy, two teenagers. Finn's 17, Lucy's about to be 15, and they never call me, right? I mean, like
No.
everything is kind of done over text. So if they actually were going to call me and they had a voice and all that kind of stuff, it's funny because it actually would really freak me out. I'd be like, "Wait, why are you calling? Like what's happening?" And if something was actually their voice and saying, "Hey, I can't really talk like that right now," or anything like that. But Jaden, it kind of like goes to sort of like how scams are done. Because like right now, I don't know if the whole world is getting these. I assume they are because my son just got one too. Where text messages to you now just sound like incredibly, you know, um, like real. They're like, hey, sorry, I just lost your number. Like, who is this again? Whereas I know what those look like, so I don't answer them. But like other things, like even Finn almost fell for one the other day because it looked so real because he's just driving now and it looked like it was from the DMV, but it wasn't.
Dude,
But
I
and
I feel like I'm so savvy and I literally almost fall for them all the time.
all the time. And so there's two ways to think about it, right? There's sort of like this, this sort of like the spray and pray kind of thing of like scammers where they're just like shoving it all out on text messages. But if the voice gets really good and they actually call, and like my heart chills at the thought of like sounding like my daughter crying or something like that, right?
Yep.
Jen, like you have kids. Like that's terrifying. Now I haven't seen it happen. I haven't anything like that. So, but what I will say is that um it would be incredibly easy for them to sort of like screenshot an image and like of her in a car accident or something like that. So I don't know how to fight against that. So we don't have a safe word or anything like that. What I will say though is that my hope is that just as we're talking about things like Truecaller and things like that, my hope is that these the anti-scamming arms race keeps up with the scamming arms race. It can't completely, but there has to be something where you're like, is this really this person or not? I think we're probably going to go through a phase in the same way now that, people get like scam emails, Nigerian princes. There was a time where, and Jaden, I'm sort of like older than you on this, but like where there was a time where everybody was falling for that stuff, right? Because you didn't know. And now people just know it's almost like a joke. The generation that really would have fallen for that is, sort of like old enough that, the spam filters are too good so they don't see them in the first place. But voice, we are going to go through a stage, and I don't know how we avoid it, Jaden, where this is going to happen. Like we are going to get these, and I don't know how. So I'm actually grateful to things like Truecaller, not sponsored or anything like that, but just like I will pay for that. I will pay for scammer, sort of like this anti-scamming protection.
100%. Okay, so I want to tell you about an interesting solution, which is not sponsored. It's just we saw an interesting company in TechCrunch, and so I wanted to cover that. But first, I'm going to show you guys a live demo on the show. While Connor was talking, I threw up into Hugging Face. It's running Quen 3 TTS, which is this open source one that I was telling you about. It's pretty good. Let's listen to a demo of it. I put in just a podcast recording of myself, and then the text is, "Hello, I need money fast. It's an emergency." Let's see if it sounds like me. And by the way, one thing I'll say is it is going to be a little bit lower quality because I didn't put reference text, so I didn't transcribe the audio I put in there. If you do that, it's higher quality. I didn't do that because we're just quickly demoing. But let's take a listen and see what it sounds like. Hello, I need money fast. It's an emergency. Okay, it did sound exactly like me. The intonation wasn't great,
Yeah,
or like wasn't perfect or whatever. Actually, you can. I
yeah.
didn't do it here, but there's a thing where you can tell the
Yeah, I was
intonation
wondering, can
how
you
to talk.
change because there's a lot of these things like Hume, was it Hume? Who is this? What's the company that like was just bought, but like they were the original ones on the emotion fluctuation. Do you remember that was from like 2 years ago or something like that? Is that
Yes.
pretty standard now on these things?
Very standard. And in fact, so I'm not seeing it on this exact like Hugging Face demo that they have open of it, but I was using this exact same model earlier. And yeah, it's like make it sound super urgent, make it sound like you're really
Okay.
stressed, make it
Yeah.
sound, and it will do that. So, anyways, but like the point is that was a perfect clone of my voice that I used for free. There was no authorization. I uploaded a clip. And it worked. So I just want to say like this is completely possible. And I would recommend for most people listening, like the best thing is if someone does call you that sounds like your family, and they're asking for money or there's an emergency, there's an immediate thing, just be like, "Okay, let me call you back 1 second." Hang up and call them back. And that's the best way to get around phone number spoofing and a lot of other things. If it's real, they'll be able to answer the phone right away. And if not, then it's a spam call. So that's like number one. And then number two, I would recommend just making like a safe word, basically like a secret code word that will be able to determine it. And you mentioned that this is audio. I do think this is also transferring into video faster than most people
Yeah.
realize,
Agreed.
because there's a ton of software out there as well that basically it can be you and me like talking on a Zoom call, but there's a software that will intercept like my camera feed and it will morph me into any person I pick. So it looks like it could be me talking on this podcast, but really maybe I have like a friend. I'm like, "Hey, can you cover for me on my podcast today?" And he comes and he's sitting down talking on this podcast right now. It would look like me. It would change the voice to sound like me. So it's pretty tricky what you can do there. Okay, I want to talk about this. I know we're going to wrap up, but I do want to give like some hope to the world. There's a cool company called um, Truecaller, and it now lets you hang up on scammers on behalf of your family. I think it uses AI to like detect them, and it's going to give you a notification. So if you have, maybe like a senior member of your family that is like easily tricked by this kind of stuff, it's obviously super heartbreaking. But you can add them to your account on something like onto like Truecaller, and there's other platforms like this as well, and it will notify you, and you can actually like get a notification. Hey, like your grandma or your mom is on a call right now with the scammer. Hang up, and there's a
Yeah.
button you can click and it will hang up for her. So
Wow.
that is cool. I think we're going to need more and more of this type of software out there. The state of the world is crazy, but it does feel like we're building some interesting tools to kind of combat it a bit.
It's so right. It's so right. And just the last thing on that too. It really is about it really is a generational thing. I mean, it's I think and I usually in AI I don't say this generational stuff like when people talk about like, oh, older people are not as good at AI, younger people are. I'm always like, no, that's not true. Like it's really like it's an
Yeah.
incentive gap. It's not a generational gap. Something like this is because older people just are not used to it. I tell my mom, screenshot anything that you see, send it over to me. Like just tell me right away. So yeah, we do have to sort of protect. And by the way, Jaeden, very soon we are going to be the old ones too. Anyway, you can close this out, but
It's
it's one of
true.
these things where we have to sort of like keep up on this because even if you're not getting fooled, people that you love maybe.
I'm gonna be there soon, guys. Yesterday was my 30th birthday. I'm
Hey,
entering my
Jaeden!
midlife crisis mode. I'm about to go buy my Harley. So
Happy birthday to Jaeden. My gosh. Well, guys, actually, let me close this out. Jaeden, I cannot believe you didn't tell me it was your birthday yesterday. I got to put it in my calendar. Happy birthday to Jaeden, guys. Jaeden does have sort of like an ongoing wish list. And I sort of
true.
like, I have seen it before. And there's one thing, and this is the only thing on there. This list has one thing on it. It's can you leave a rating and review? Guys, for Jaden's
100%.
birthday, and don't just leave it like, oh, we just no. I want the most unbelievable. Like, guys, Jaeden is the best. Throw Connor in there too if you want. But just like the 5 stars, like I recommend this to everybody, guys. Jaden's 30th birthday. You're not going to do this for him. You've been listening to him all the time. Go leaving a rating review. This is what we're going to do for him. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Love having you guys here, and we'll see you on the next episode.